Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Figure I'd get out a one final pocket change market report for the month of April. So that's today. Man, this is the midweek edition, last day of the month. We're gonna check out some of your favorite coins to have sold on eBay. Now, typically when we talk about some of these coins, generally we focus on stuff that you can find out in the wild, whether that's hunting through change, going after some of those brand new varieties and mint errors that have been found and discovered. That could be one of those particular coins that make their way into this report each and every single week. And the reason why we do that is to simply gauge, their strength against demand. See how supply is. If one particular coin is quite scarce, we'll know about that, after 30 or 45 days of general market activity. But also, there are a number of coins that kind of fit within like maybe key dates or just a better U.S. type coin that sells raw. Typically, the coins that we talk about in this video are ungraded, which is very important because you want to save as much money as you can. There are a number of people that I personally know that do this as a supplement to their normal income. They're kind of like daily 9 to 5, I suppose. And then there are some people that do this full time, and this is how they make a living. So, for the most part, you're going to see how the market kind of shifts and kind of evolves for certain coins. Like, for example, we have one coin that at one point in the past used to sell for about $200 to $300. What does that coin sell for today? That's important. We're going to talk about it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this one. I know a lot of people tend to, favor the good old pocket change market report. Thank you to channel sponsor Whatnot, by the way. I saw on her platform, in addition to selling on eBay, I leverage both platforms with great success, and that's something that you guys can do as well. Whatnot today is the number one live social media auction platform today. You go on there, you start bidding, you start winning some collectibles, whatever the case may be. It's a great platform to help out build your business if this is something that you want to do. But it is also a really awesome place to buy some of those coins that maybe have eluded you over the years. So we do shows every week. This week's kind of different. We have 2 shows on Thursday and Friday, so tomorrow and the day after. They'll both start at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got great giveaways. We're kind of like inching our way toward the summertime promotions. We're tinkering with the idea of bringing back the metal detector giveaway, which was huge last year. So we might do that again this year. So if you want to join up, it's real simple. We got the QR code right on screen. Sign up today. I'm going to give you $15 off your first item. That sounds like a pretty good incentive. If you're not digging the QR code, we also have the clickable links down below in the description box and also pinned to the comment section of this video. Go ahead and check things out. Hopefully I get to see you guys this week. And if you're not buying, let's just talk the hobby because it's a fun place to do so. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some of these selections. The images you're going to see here today are all 100% original to those sellers' listings. We didn't modify, juice, or doctor any of the photos to make them look better. So in hindsight, you're going to get the best and worst that eBay has to offer. Now, I could definitely say that this particular seller does a really good job with displaying not only mint errors but die varieties. Here's one of the I would say well collected types. These are called BIE die chips, which is simply a die chip connecting to BNE and Liberty, and that's how it gets its namesake. Typically, we see these on much older dates, from the 40s, 50s, Lincoln cents, but I've also found these all the way up to some of the more modern dates, into the Shield cent series. So they are out there. This tends to be kind of a weak spot on the dies, and that's why there's a lot of fracturing, a lot of cracking going on here. Pieces of the die will fall out because, they are subjected to that kind of wear and tear that you would expect because, those dice will strike 1,000,000 plus coins on many occasions and in rapid succession. So they put in all the work, and as a result, a lot of wear and tear happens. So these are very well collected. There are different size of BIE die chips that are out there. All of the attributions, thankfully, are on a website called cudsoncoins.com, where you could look at every respective date that has BIEs, and that'll help out in your treasure hunts. Now, to a lot of people, there's not a whole lot of love for this particular anomaly. As a matter of fact, this is when I say well collected, it's well collected to the folks that do a lot of mint errors. And, if not for nothing, this is a very affordable way of getting into the hobby if you wanted to. This particular coin sold for $14.95 as kind of like a primer that they do have value. So if you do come across these, whether they're the older dates like this one, or some of the newer dates, please understand that as small as these things are, they do pack a little bit of the secondary market punch. So please do hold on to them and reap the rewards, as I have in the past and many, many others, my contemporaries, have done as well. So yeah, there's quite a bit of value here. So we talked about a couple weeks ago, and there were actually a few people that were very interested in vintage silver ingots, bars, pours. One of those brands that really resonates with a lot of people is Engelhard. Engelhard seems to be kind of like the gold standard of, just old silver that goes back many decades. So people love things like this bread loaf pour that you see here with all the stampings. It's actually a 10 troy ounce silver bar. What makes this one even equally interesting is that there's some sort of funky kind of like reverse stamping on the back of this thing. They call these, by the way, waffle backs. I kind of see a little bit of what they're talking about with the little I guess voids or indentions at the bottom of the bar, as you can see here. But things like misstamped or misplaced stamps of serial numbers and things like that is what really drives the market for these vintage bars. And they can be 10 ounce, 5 ounce, 1 ouncers. They could be some of those oddball kind of weights, like 9.5 ounce, things like that. But always kind of examine these. If you come across them at like a coin shops don't really tend to care a whole lot about any error stampings or something on there. What they do care about is the premium of the name brand of this product. And to give you an idea, this one sold on eBay, and it was pretty much, this is the price I'm putting up there. You either like it, you buy it, or you don't. And that price for the 10 ounce bar, $895. $89 per ounce is a stiff premium for such a bar. But given that there are a lot of collectors of error kind of type of bars like this one, they're going to continue to get more and more popular as time goes on. So a little word to the wise: if you're out hunting through silver scrap at your dealer, be mindful that these things do exist, and it might be something good you could pick up. All right, now it's no secret that Cud Die Breaks, which is this coin, is quite healthy in the marketplace. They're consistent. They set kind of like this bar of expectation as far as what you can expect to earn as a result of selling these on eBay. But a Cud is, for lack of a better word, a die break, a large die break. A piece of the die had fallen out. Again, it was probably on its last legs at this point. So this one right here is right above the date. We don't really know what the date is at this point, other than it's from the 1900s. It is a Lincoln Cent memorial back, so that's also a little bit of information for you. This one right here, a very wildly shocking sale of $108.01 with 6 total bids on this one. So I've seen similar types of Cuds like this one. As a matter of fact, I've seen the same one sell for right around $50 or $60. But admittedly, I haven't seen one in probably maybe half a year. So again, this might just be a classic case of very little supply but more demand out there, more people getting into collecting these than there ever has been, and that's going to ultimately drive the values of these. Same goes for this one here. I've seen this one on a number of occasions. It's a 1984 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Nice big large cud die break right above Lincoln's head right there, covering half of the motto, which is quite interesting. This particular one right here, usurping the throne this week from the previous coin at $134.01. 9 total bids this time around. Again, the market is robust for these, and the more of them that you guys push out there onto eBay for sale, you guys are going to be 100% just floored by the results that you're going to earn as a result of introducing these into the marketplace, because there's not nearly enough supply to fulfill demand. And what makes things even more kind of complicated, and that might work in your favor, is that there are a bunch of different sizes and shapes attributed to these. Again, you could go on a website like cudsoncoins.com to see how many different types and positioning of the cuds are across all dates. I mean, these go way back, even into the 1800s. Not only Lincoln cents, but Indian head cents and other various types as well. Next one that we have here, stepping away from the cud die breaks, laminations. We've been talking more and more about them lately, because, they have been kind of achieving, kind of a different price level than what we're used to seeing from these from about 5-6 years ago. People are giving these a little bit more credit. Me personally, it's not my thing, but if I did have a lamination error like this one here, you best believe that I'm going to sell it, all right? Because I understand the market. So this 1920 Lincoln Wheat Cent has a lamination right over Lincoln's profile there, all due to impurities in the alloy mix. All right, so this thing was pretty flaky, I would imagine, at the very beginning when the coin was produced. We're talking 1920s here, so that is a particular decade that we do see more lamination type of errors. This particular one sold for $18.90. Again, it's a low grade, less than spectacular type, a smaller than average lamination peel that is still attached on there, but that's nearly $20 for a coin that probably you had pulled aside and put somewhere else. It's not the greatest coin if you are looking for the most radical lamination errors. Next one that we have here, just a really nice off-center struck Jefferson nickel. This one is also a uniface. As noted on the reverse of the coin, there's no design of the memorial or anything like that on there. Or a Monticello, rather, Jefferson's birthplace. There's no readable date. It's off-center by about 70%, if I had to guess. It's got a nice deep cupping to it, some stretching of that metal. This particular one right here sold for $49.51. Again, it's not graded. Why grade it? Hold on to the submission fees, put it in your pocket. By the way, grading either mint errors or die varieties they can be quite expensive, because there's an additional associated cost with grading those particular coins. Nothing too crazy here, but I will say this is a date we don't see pop up on the good old eBay interweb that much, and that's 2003. This one is slightly off-center with a little bit of what looks to be a tilted collar, which is noticed and referenced on the front of the coin around that top edge where it's off-center. You can see kind of like a stepped feature there. So this one here, selling for $17.48. Quick little buy it now hit. And this is a tough one. And people tend to collect this type of mint error by date. 2003, I guarantee you, is a date that doesn't pop up on the list that often, because there's not a lot of people selling this particular date on the secondary market. Again, this is one that a lot of people have overlooked, which can be misconstrued as just regular good old-fashioned circulation wear. Is actually a 2005 Bison reverse nickel with a strike through. So there was a fair amount of grease on the die when this thing was struck, obliterating, the In God We Trust, United States of America. There's some weakening, 5 cents on the reverse, E pluribus unum. And you have some flattened areas on the Bison as well, where the grease had sat on the die. So that's, again, another one that we should always be aware of. This one sold for $32. Again, that's real money, ladies and gents. That's just being constantly spent, pushed aside, wrapped in a roll, sent back to the bank, and then to be lost forever until the next person grabs a hold of it and maybe, hopefully, is saved from further, circulation and destruction. Because in time, these things, through regular attrition, will, disappear. They'll get all banged up and they are meant to hang around for a while, but eventually they will disappear. This is what I like to call the good old Apmex Cud. It's right on the word trust there on the obverse, 1974D. And the reason why I say that is this particular coin right here, which I did not put in there, sorry, was sold by the precious metals company Apmex. And they were selling them in rolls. They actually still have them for sale, but the prices are not even worth tinkering with. Considering that there's so many of these out in the open marketplace. If you wanted one, you could pick one up for around $20. This particular one sold for $25. But if you just needed a decent looking cut die break, this is one right here that can be had for a relatively affordable price. You guys got us a little bit of a sneak peek. We have a 1943 Philly Silver War nickel. All right, very well collected, especially in nice condition. These unique little nuggets right here hold a whole bunch of mystery. And what I mean by that is varieties. Varieties are, man, they dominate the Silver War kind of date range from 42 to 45. Just look at every single one. There's double the dies, quite a few of them actually. There's repunch mint marks because of how big that mint mark is on the reverse right above that dome of Monticello. It's something that happens because, we're talking humans here. Humans still produce our coins even today. So there is always going to be, the element of error, which is great for us collectors. This is one of them right here. This is actually repunch mint mark number 9. If you want a little bit of a close-up. Ta-da! There you go. A good job to the seller as well with the arrows. They're just really illustrating that's what we're looking for. Prior to 1990, the mint marks were hand punched into the working dies, so you can understand where some of that error comes from. But there you go, pretty cool. This one sold for $24.95. So a nice little premium there on that one. Another lamination, quite flaky. I call this one the Pillsbury croissant error. As you can see on the reverse, the coin was like flaking away. A lot of impurities in the alloy mix. Quite common on Silver War nickels of this generation. 1943p, one of the more plentiful dates. Now this one right here didn't sell for a whole lot of money, $8.50. 13 total bids. Me personally, I probably would have had this up for $24.99 because it's quite strong and powerful on the lamination. I just probably think it was just not the right time for this one to end on eBay. Next one that we have here, a beauty, 1983p Washington quarter, off-center by about 20%. And a great date. I mean, this is a common date for off-center strikes. And, that notwithstanding, it's also a very attractive high-grade specimen, which really helped out this one that ended up selling for $55.84. How about that? It's a nice little chunko change. Roosevelt dimes gaining all sorts of popularity with its, impending redesign for 2026. So why not? Let's go ahead and invest in some mid-airs and varieties. And that's what people are doing. This Roosevelt dime even though there is no readable date, is struck about 65-70% off center, and it still managed to sell for $34.99. That's with the kind of like a sharp scratch on the front of the coin and no readable date. Two things that still to this day matter, doesn't matter what kind of coin it is. Pretty neat one here. It's been it's been years since I found one of these, and it's not likely that coin shops will let this one go unchecked because it's a very well-known variety on an 1866 Indian head cent. Now, the coin by itself is quite pricey in higher grades. Lower grade ones, you're still going to cough up $20-$30 for it. There's still a market, especially if you're just looking for an example to put into an album. But always be on the lookout, especially on the Indian Head Cent series, period, of all the different types of varieties. This one, by the way, is Snow number 4. That's Rick Snow's attribution. The last 6 is repunched on this. You can see that secondary curl of the 6 right above the main 6 on there. And, very well known. This coin in this condition sold for $82.99. If I found many of these, and I wish I could, with that same variety, $80 a pop, that's that could, make something happen financially for a lot of people that do need a little bit of extra cash. This one right here, boy, I actually had this one on my watch list because I wanted to buy another one in nice shape. And before I had the chance to buy it, it sold. 2021 Philly, Washington crossing the Delaware. This is one of my favorites of the last 5 years. And this one has that good old crown die chip right above Washington's hat on the reverse, as you can see right here. Big enough of a die chip to where it goes into E pluribus unum. So right good sized. So at the beginning of the video, I prefaced that this was the coin that was selling for like $200-$300 at the time of release in high grades. Obviously, it's not selling for that much, but I wanted to let you guys know that we are still in pretty good shape here. This one ended up selling for $44.50. While it's not $200-$300, I mean, this is still a pretty decent amount of money for a coin that I would say was produced in high supply. There was actually a lot of these. The demand has kind of shriveled 4 years later, and the people that wanted a nice specimen of this, did buy one a long time ago. But today this is going to be more of the newer folks, that want this. Pretty nice modern date here for this one. 2002 Lincoln Memorial Cent with 2 clips on there. One by the date and then one right at the very bottom of the obverse. There you go. I mean, anything more than 1 clip is certainly spades. This one sold for $19.52 with 6 bids. Good to see. Coins and cards on the prowl again. Golly, man, what a banger. So I'm going to say straight up that this one looks like it's been cleaned, but still, this is still a huge variety. This is the 1942 over 1 overdate variety of the Mercury Dime series. What else can I say? It's a good looking coin. There you go. We used to refer to this as the zip code overdate 19412. I don't know specifically where that zip code is, but it's really cool to note that, the date is 5 digits on this one. Pretty noticeable, the fact that this one's an overdate. Not at all surprised at the sale price, $1,450, 24 total bids. Lots of activity. People wanted a nice condition example of this, and someone has ended up taking this one home. Another big one here on a 1999 or 96 rather $50 bill. Man, look at the misalignment of the overprint on this one. Kind of crazy. That is a very crazy misalignment. And $50 bills, we don't see too many paper money errors on this denomination. There's a little scope out of the back, nothing too crazy. A little bit of a stain there on the left, top left corner. So this one sold for $300. Crazy that it's not graded. Most people's inclination would be, oh, guys, send it off to PCUGS Banknote or PMG. That's not so. Why spend the $50 to grade this thing when it's still going to end up selling for the full market of this? So, next one that we have here. Ugly still does sell. And this particular coin is no exception, considering that we talk about this one all the time. 1983 Lincoln Cent, doubled die reverse, FS 801. I mean, without looking at close-ups, you can see the doubling just quite amazing and very strong and robust on this one. This one here has some sort of like, I don't know, kind of like a nipper mark or something like that. Like someone had squeezed some wire cutters up to the edge of it. So it's not the perfect coin. It's been around the block a few times. And this one, even in this state of condition, and here's her close-up of 1 cent, $66.25 with 7 bits. So, yeah, quite impressive for a coin that, that doesn't look like a keeper at all. But yeah, when someone needs a bargain example of this coin, this one does it. And we've talked about these before on the 40% silver Kennedys. This is a 1967 silver with a detached clamshell lamination. There you go. So this one looks like it was helped along at some point because you can see some of the warpage on the edge there. Helped along in a sense that someone peeled it back and broke it. And it didn't fall off naturally. This one sold for $40. Okay, could have been sold a little bit more if it was a retained clamshell. Unfortunately, this is what you get. But we do have another clamshell that'll warm your guys' heart coming up here. Next, look at this thing. Multiple piece clamshell lamination, 1977. Lincoln Memorial Cent. This thing is the coup de grace of clamshells. And it's really cool. I think what really helped out the cause on this particular one, folks, is the fact that the seller put multiple different kind of like angled shots. Look at that top left shot right there, showing the multiple fractured, points to that lamination. I mean, this thing's really cool, and this is how you need to preserve it. This is where you're going to get a lot more oohs and ahs, and your jaw's going to drop to the ground type of response above all else. And because of that, this one ended up selling for $74.51. And then when we're doing the comparison, if this particular clamshell was on that previous 1967 with all the multiple splitting parts, we might be talking about a $400 to $500 coin on the Kennedy half dollar. So, perspectives are as such that, if one type is on another denomination that we don't see that often, that's really going to raise the bar. Pretty neat one here. It doesn't look like much. It just looks like an old school 1981 $20 bill. All right. So you look at the back, miscut, misalignment, all the crazy shit all on one note. And it looks relatively fresh, like an AU condition note that really hasn't seen a whole lot of circulation wear. $129.52 was the final tab on this one. 15 total bids. This one was bid up there. Cool one, man. In God we trust. And a pretty good seller of some of the craziest coins on eBay. 1984D. Roosevelt dime, double struck, flip over. All right, so the coin was struck once. It didn't eject properly out of the striking chamber. There was some sort of collar malfunction as well. But the coin did flip around. All right, so the secondary off-center strike, you can see the obverse there on the back. Right at the bottom, secondary strike, by the way, is off-center by about 80%. And it is a uniface. So you can see on the top of Roosevelt's head there on the left side image that it's all kind of like a blob, kind of a mess. That's the uniface. It did there was probably a second planchet that was overlapping this one, just a blank, and that's what creates that. So this one sold for $225. $225. Again, I continue to be impressed by some of these listings on eBay that most folks would just run and grade them. I just don't get the rationale. Now, if this was being consigned to like a big house like Great Collections or Heritage, yeah, they'll grade them for you. They have to because that's how they sell them. But, on eBay, there's more options for you. And that's why I like selling on the platform. Yeah, another gravely crazy misalignment here. $1981 bill. See how all that overprint shifted to the right with lots of overlap? Yeah, impressive. Now, this one admittedly has some staining, as you can see on both sides. Doesn't particularly kill all the value. $390 was the final sale on this one. Impressive. It's awesome to see. Paper money errors have been just dealing here in the last 6 months. Ever since the holidays, these things are crazy. And the last one, of course, we're going to end it off on another Cud die break, 1982 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Can't really tell from these images if this is a copper or a copper-plated Zinken. Kind of hard to say. When I look at the reverse, it makes me think, oh, it's a Zinken. When I look at the obverse, it looks like a copper. So it was not specified by the original seller, but yeah, there you go. By the way, this is a Cud that I've never personally seen before in this shape and placement, which is right there under the date, right at the truncation of Lincoln's bust. $49.95 was the finale on this one. And that, my friends, is going to go ahead and wrap things up for the last day of the month, PCMR. That was a lot of fun. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Again, recapping here, information in this video is for educational use only. Do not deem this any financial advice at all. You guys are big boys and girls. You guys can make, these kind of business decisions on your own if you want to go and sell or just really participate in sourcing these. Please collect and or grade your coins responsibly. Thank you guys again for watching. It was a lot of fun. And can't wait to jump into the very first May edition of the PCMR. It's bound to be a banger. They've all been bangers so far in 2025. We're looking for more mid-errors and things like that on 2025 coins. They're a little few and far between. Maybe that'll change. But we got more to talk about. So thank you guys again. Hopefully this video gives you inspiration to go out there and hunt and do that thing that we all love to do. I will see you guys next time. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And best of luck in your hunts. Keep on collecting, my friends.